Hello and welcome to Soul Family Chat. I'm Guy, your host. Soul Family Chat is where we envisage new possibilities for a new earth. And I want to talk about experience I've had with food in the last couple of months. In my community, we've been having some meetings about food self-sufficiency, and of course, like everybody, we've heard about coming food shortages or possible food shortages and things like that. One of the things that changes that I've made in my life is that I've been buying all my fresh produce, almost all of it, either from the farmer's market or from some roadside stands. And I'm also getting some vegetables from friends' gardens. They usually have a surplus and they share with me. So I'd say over the last couple of months, I've hardly bought any fresh produce from the supermarket or the store. And I have to say that one of my absolute favorite times of the week is going to the farmer's market, and it's just the vibe there is so great. I just love buying the food every time I hand over the money, and I kind of noticed it's better to give them cash. I don't know why. They take cards and stuff and they're the little card readers. But I started, after a while, thinking it's better to give them cash. Well, that's another story for another video. But I just love every time I spend $1 with the people at farmers market, I really feel like I've done something constructive, something positive. I'm really supporting something. I live in a small town, so our farmers market's kind of brilliant because when I go there, I run into a lot of people I know and friends, like young families with their kids there, and it's kind of a social scene as well. But it's just the vibration of being connected with local food just feels really high. And when I've been cooking with the food that I've been buying from the farmer's market and getting from my friends' gardens, it's just same thing. It's like the frequency, the vibe of that food is just it's just been amazing. I've been making omelets with Amish eggs and farmers market vegetables, and it's just like through the roof. And it really got me thinking about how we're living our lives and how our relationship with food is probably the most important thing in shifting our whole relationship with power and how we're kind of controlled in this world. And another sort of anecdotal story. I mean, I went to the supermarket one day and I was kind of craving lettuce because I do like lettuce, but they stopped having lettuce at the farmer's market. And my friends were sort of past, they'd had lettuce early on in the season, they didn't have any now. And I looked at some lettuce in one of those big plastic boxes and I thought, oh God, I just can't do it. I mean, they had some other lettuce in separate, but anyway, it seemed a bit expensive. I just said, forget it. And went back to the farmer's market, and I've been buying a lot of cucumbers and making cucumber salad, and I kind of realized I don't have to have lettuce. I mean, we're all habituated to having our specialty things, and everything's capitalized, isn't it? I mean, we have our particular brands of coffee and drinks and kombuchas, and everything's like we all express ourselves through these different types of food that have been transformed in some way with a particular taste and look and feel, and we define ourselves by it, right? I mean, this whole web pages and social media, people dedicated to their love for this type of brand of food and things like that. And I'm just thinking about more to self-sufficiency communities and before food was such a globalized business, and that people had to rely on what was local, what was in season, and what was available. And in the northern countries, people stored food in food cellars and things and things like that. And so now we live in this completely globalized world where globalized, capitalized world where you can have anything you want, basically, if you're one of the fortunate ones that has money for it. But I think we need to shift away from that and back to eating what's here, grown locally. And that's, for me, that's more important than these movements like vegetarianism and veganism, and not to be down on any of you guys. I think it's great if you're going in that direction. But a lot of that is just capitalized and globalized. I mean, you know, vegan burgers in the stores, which come from factories, and it's just a whole capitalized system, and all the diets and keto and all of that. It's all just driven to the max by some kind of capitalized business. So I just this simple habit, this simple change for me of just buying my fresh produce locally, it's just been transformational, just in terms of my health, and just also just how I feel about myself and my connection with the community. And I think that the powers that be don't want us to be self-sufficiency. They don't want us to grow our own food and to buy our food locally. I studied colonialism. I studied African studies. Actually, it's one of the things I studied when I was at university, and learned a fair bit about imperialism and colonialism. And you know, one of the main things was just driving people off the land, taking all the best land, and then using that best land to grow cash crops, which then were exported to, would be exported from Africa to Europe. And I remember when I was doing those studies of hearing that one time in West Africa there was a famine, but while the famine was going on, planes were leaving every day, flying to Paris full of green beans and fresh vegetables and things like that. Yeah, I mean, globalism is kind of bonkers. Like, they have these beautiful flowers in my local health food store, and they have them at the supermarket as well. These small, see these nice bouquets, and they're pretty inexpensive, about $10, and they're beautiful. And they all come from Colombia. Colombia has this amazing flower industry. You know, it's great. It's great. That creates jobs there and employment and stuff like that. But it's like bonkers. I mean, putting flowers on jumbo jets and just burning up fossil fuels and flying into America so you can have some pretty flowers. For me, it's completely insane. I mean, it's like, how did we get to this? So I think changing our habits around food and just buying local, making more stuff at home, and it's like, God help us, we could actually learn how to make our own ketchup or something without buy it in a bottle. I mean, another story on this actually is I was at the farmer's market one day last year. It was kind of the fall, and one stall had some apples, and they were a bit ugly. They got some ugly apples. And I kind of looked at them and I was like, I like the shiny organic ones that I get from the store kind of better. They appeal to me more. And I kind of realized, wow, they've really gotten me. The system's really kind of taken me over, that I've become habituated. I've heard one way it's been described, what's happened to humanity. We've been domesticated. That's domestication, that you like the shiny, like the shiny apple, better than the ugly apple from the store. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure why the apples are so ugly here. I grew up in England, and I was fortunate. I grew up in a country environment, and we had apple trees on the property and stuff like that. And I don't remember the apples being as ugly as some of the ones that come off the trees here. I don't know. There's different things with bugs going on. I don't know. But that being said, it's like there's some pear trees around on my neighbors and stuff, and they hardly collect any of them, so I get them off the ground sometimes, and I have to do a lot of surgery on them, cut out all the bad bits and stuff like that. But wow, it's worth it. There's fresh apples or fresh pears straight from the trees. So yeah, that's my thought for the day. I mean, just what are your thoughts? What are you doing to change your habits about how you buy and consume food? I don't care if you're vegan or a keto or a carnivore or this and that. That's all individual. It's all individual choice. But I think this local thing is where it's at, and that's what's really going to change our world, because communities are built around food, around growing food and sharing food and all of that. So yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments what you're doing with food and how you feel about food. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.